Kilted
Balls.
balls. Yeah, in harmony.
Woo! Hey, welcome back, people, to another episode of the Kilted Balls podcast here with Kilton Dragon Jer and Ball Buster. Woo! It's been a week.
It has. It's been an awesome week, actually.
I think it's been awesome, and I'm hoping all the rest of you had a great time this week. I was supposed to do a YouTube mini today, and I ran out of steam and never did it. It was a busy day for me.
Oh man,
your last YouTube mini, I don't think ever loaded.
it didn't.
Mm-mm. With Buster.
Yeah, with Buster, it didn't load.
You might have to check and see, but I don't think it did. Hopefully, people, you'll get to see some Buster Homecoming, but I did not. I did get a run in today.
Nice.
So, a 30-minute run. And there are a couple interesting things that I thought about in the run. And I might have already forgot the most important one. So we might have to circle back to the one that's like.
Think of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of them.
Or the other things.
One of the things that I thought about during the run that I thought was important is, we talked about like Jesse Itzler, who we heard at Beacon, and just that self-talk. Mm-hmm. And I talked with one of my daughters about, hey, as you're getting like anxious and nervous to go to college, don't let yourself think those words. Like, don't think, what if I don't find friends? I go, say out loud, I'm going to meet the friends of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I go, change the script. And so as I'm running, I was getting tired. It was like 15 minutes in. I was like, I'm so tired. And then I'm like, no. I never get tired. And I remember what my big thing was. I'm like, I don't get tired. And instantly I like laughed and felt better.
Yeah.
Right. And so I kept doing that. I was like, man, I really need to like push this kind of message. But what it made me realize, and kind of what I wanted to focus on today's episode, you and I are both super honest people, right? We don't really believe in lying.
So.
Right. And people think that's really weird to me. Like, they're like, how do you not lie? And one person is always like, yeah, you don't ever lie, but you don't tell everything. Like, well, no, like that's not part of the gig. Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to say anything. Right. It's kind of like that old adage. If you don't have anything nice to say nothing at all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I can't do this without lying, then I'm just not going to say anything.
Yeah.
Which my mom used to say, that's a lie of omission. I'm like, it don't count.
Some people do say that.
Spoken. I'm like, if I don't answer, like I don't have to disclose. I plead the fifth. Right? I plead the fifth. But I decided today that's wrong.
Really? What made you say that?
You should have no issues at all lying to yourself.
I do agree with that.
And so you should lie to yourself all the time. All the time. You should lie to yourself.
That's very, very true. I agree with that.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's a good spin you can put on that to make it sound nice, because you are exactly right. I started running last week. I can't remember if I said that or not, because I have my race coming up. And Monday was terrible. Like it was, and I was saying the same thing. I was thinking about Jesse, and I was telling myself that, and I think I talked myself into, once I get into shape, I can believe that more.
Yeah.
But I mean, the second day I ran, which would have been Wednesday morning, right after we recorded, I don't know if it was because it was 70 degrees out. I don't know if it was because it was a light rain. I don't know if it was because my headphones were working and my music was amazing, but I felt awesome that whole run. And I'm just doing quick, like half hour, like right around 3 miles.
Yes.
So, but yes, I do agree with that.
That's, like when I'm feeling sore, I'm like, I don't get, I'm not sore. I'm not sore, And I always tell like athletes and stuff when they're like, oh my gosh, I'm hurt, coach. And I'm like, you don't get to be hurt for another 2 hours. I go, in 2 hours, you can be as hurt as you want. But for the next 2 hours, you're not hurt. And they're like, okay, then I'm not hurt. And I'm like, yeah, see, like that's okay. Lie to yourself about that.
Right? But is that really a lie? What's the definition of a lie?
So I looked this up once because I was talking about a politician lying all the time. And I said it to a class that they were like, yeah, they're lying to you. And then I thought, and I looked it up and I'm like, you know what? It's not a lie. And the kids are like, how can it not be a lie? Like it's completely false.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, because when I looked up the definition of lying, it has to be with intent.
Mm.
So if you have intent to deceive, that's a lie.
So you are lying to
Otherwise-
yourself.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just wrong, right?
Yeah. Well, that was the old Beavis and Butthead. He was doing the lie detector test, and what he asked him how many fingers he was holding up, and Beavis got it wrong, and he's like, "Well, that's not actually a lie because that's what you believe."
Right. That's exactly right. Like you can be wrong, and like
Mhm.
because that's what I would say to kids. And that's what made me think of it. Is I would say, "Oh, you lied to me. It's not that." And then I'm
Mhm.
like, actually, you weren't trying to deceive me at all. You're not lying, right?
Mhm.
You're just wrong. You just
Mhm.
don't know. And like for
There's a
this
difference.
politician, I was like, they're not lying. They're just stupid. They don't know,
Mhm.
right? And not stupid people, meaning like they're low intellect. Stupid like ignorant, like they literally don't have the correct knowledge.
Yeah. So that is good because I always think
See
back
this
to
cup, by
when
the
we
way?
were younger. I started to. I was going to ask you. Nice.
You know where this is from?
As I say, it looks like it's. I was going to say San Francisco at first, but then no, I just saw the red thing. France.
It is from the Spaghetti Factory.
Oh yeah, Italy. Italy is the red, white, and green.
Kilted and I went to the Spaghetti Factory at what was it, VCon or some other
At
conference?
VCon.
Yeah, and
Or
they
in
gave you a
Indy.
free cup with the drink.
And you're drinking out of it. Nice.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Indy, everyone's just getting done with Gen Con right now. It sounded, I heard good things. I mean,
Nice.
we talked about going, we ended up not going. But let's get back to
I was gonna say that's not what
topic.
you were saying at all.
No. So, yeah, it's interesting. Oh, thinking about when we were younger, because people used to sprain their ankles all the time,
Yes,
like in track and cross country.
all the time.
Like for me, seeing a lot of people, and we always said, well, we don't sprain our ankles. It's just not a
Right.
thing. In ultimate,
Yes,
we didn't
all the
sprain our
time.
ankles. And
Yeah.
it was one of those things like I try to think back. I don't think I was really lying to myself because I truly believed it.
Well, and
Like
I still do.
I don't get sick. I don't sprain my ankle. Like those were things that were part of our
Mine was a little bit more belief because I did sprain my ankle so bad that I pretty much tore all the ligaments. And so people would be
Okay.
like, "You're going to sprain your ankle." I'm like, "I literally can't because it doesn't have those fibers in it anymore." So it's not going to sprain.
See, mine was just I just ignore it. Like my ankle had touched the ground many a times with
Oh
my foot
yeah,
turned sideways.
yes.
And it's just like, oh, I don't sprain my ankle. It hurts, but walk it a
No.
little bit and keep
So you
going.
wouldn't know this necessarily because you never played football. But in football in high school, I was what they called a pulling guard, which means I turned 90 degrees, ran, turned 90 degrees, right? And you had to be incredibly fast because you had to beat the person running who's going in a straight line, and you had to go 90, run 90. And I had sprained my ankle before that. And then I had to start wearing braces. And there was one time I didn't wear the brace. Like, it's just you're a kid, you forget. I'm like, it doesn't matter. The thing never hurts. And I did the 90, did the 90, and I kept going because there were no ligaments for that ankle to pull.
Yeah.
So I just went whoop. And they're like, "What did you do? Did your cleats slip?" And I'm like, "Nope, it didn't slip the cleats. That was like my ankle. Like it just popped off."
Decided it wasn't going to be there.
And nowadays, maybe that's all been rebuilt, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
But even now, I don't tend to do that. But the other thing is you and I also have pretty fast feet as far as that goes, and good reflexes. So we don't tend to, though maybe that'll change when we get older. But yeah, but maybe those weren't lies. One of the things that my wife gets grumpy about all the time is I always say, like, I'm never going to have a heart attack. And she gets super grumpy. And I'm like, I'm not,
But you're
because
not.
I'm like, I have a bleeding disorder that doesn't allow my blood to do that. And she's like, it could do that. You don't do this. And I'm like, part of this is, even if that were a thing, that reinforcement, which wouldn't be a lie because that's what I believe, but also would do it. Though I tend to do other things to kind of keep up on it. But Again, I'm like,
Yeah.
you got to push that. But it goes back again to that self-talk. Don't verbalize. This is the important thing, people. Don't verbalize the negative. If you have to have the negative thoughts, that happens. Like everybody's gonna have that. There, like I was running, I was like, oh, I'm tired. Like I had the thought.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put it out there.
Yeah.
Keep it in here. And that's what I did. Like I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, no, 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 no. I don't
Mm-hmm.
freaking get tired. I never have. And all of a sudden I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh yeah, I don't get tired. I'm gonna get my 30 minutes. And I went and got my
Mm-hmm.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. So
That's awesome.
right, you gotta do that. And that's what I was telling my daughter. Don't put those thoughts into the universe. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't make them real by speaking them, by writing them down.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Only put the ones you want to have happen.
Yeah.
I go, so like I keep telling her, when you go to school, calculus and chemistry are going to be a breeze. They're going to be super easy.
Mm-hmm.
And like her older sister's like, I don't know, they could be really, really hard for her and blah, blah, blah. I go, no, they're going to be easy. I go,
Mm-hmm.
you keep telling yourself they're going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let the negative narrative be the reality.
Yeah.
Push that. But going along that same vein, and you and I were just talking about this, and I jumped on here, people, right before, because the other thing I thought of while I was running is I'm like, I'm going to win the lotto today. I go, it's the Powerball Mega Millions. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, you know what? This is the time I'm going to win. I need to buy a ticket because I'm winning tonight. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to say that. And Kilted's going to be like, I don't know how you going to win because I'm going to win. And I had this before we ever got on. I'm like, he's going to say that. And I'm like, he forgot two fundamental truths about the lottery. And that is, first off, multiple people can win.
Yeah, that is true.
And second, if I won, you won. So
exactly.
It doesn't make any difference.
Same for you.
Right. So it makes no difference. Like I'm like, yeah, you're winning.
Yeah.
Da, da, da. Because
one
if
person
I
paying more taxes, that's it.
yes. I said today, that's like probably one of the biggest government scams I was thinking about today. Because all the money for people who buy lottery tickets was taxed on their income, and then they win the lottery and it gets taxed again. I'm like, they're getting like 60 cents on every dollar.
Easily.
Like,
well, that's like someone
who
was just talking about it. Someone was talking about, well, you get taxed when you make the money. And then like if you buy something, you pay the taxes on that. And then if you decide to sell it, you have to pay taxes on the money you made again.
It's like over and over and over. Oh my gosh. I'm like, this is not right. I'm like, I get it. And you know what? I'm telling you right now, Uncle Sam, when I win $1.5 billion, I'm totally okay giving you 0.5. Like, it'll hurt, but I'll deal with the pain. Right. But you didn't even have to gamble on it. Right.
Yeah.
And you're getting it either way. So kind of shady, Uncle Sam, kind of shady. Right.
It's funny.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm excited about that. I wasn't sure what we would do. I did think I might buy a Bored Ape. I don't know.
Yeah.
Why not? Well,
they're
why
down
not?
a lot right now. They're down.
Yeah. They're
might as
super
well get
low.
the one you want. Yeah.
I'm like, they're super low, and that might be fun to say I had one. Like, whatever.
I saw that a couple weeks ago. Beeple was looking to get a CryptoPunk. He was asking for advice on Twitter, or on, I think it was still Twitter then. So yeah.
X or Twitter. Like, we haven't talked about that, but that's like the weirdest thing, the X. I don't know.
No,
like,
we did talk about it last week.
We did a little bit. Like, what do you call it? Do you call it an X now? Does anybody know?
It's still a tweet. It's like I said last time, it's ingrained so deep in everybody. It's always going to be a tweet. It's always going to be Twitter.
One of my favorite talk shows ever was kind of in the early days of Twitter. Like these news anchors are like, so what is this? Okay, so I do this, and I send it out, and they're like, yeah. And they're like, now what's this called again? A twat? Like, am I a twatter now? Like, is that what this is? And the person's like, no, it's a tweet. It's a tweet. They're like, not a twat? They're like, that's not what that means. No, it's a tweet.
That's hilarious.
And so I think
You
about
know
that.
that was planned so they could get away with it on TV.
Maybe I think it was Amy or somebody said it was kind of an airheadish person, so
Mhm.
they might not have.
That is hilarious.
Oops, oops. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm excited about making money,
Hmm.
making the
Yes.
billions. That'll be fun. All listeners, right? Listeners,
Hmm.
you just comment on this, me too,
Hmm.
and we'll make sure we give you like a million or whatever, right? That's
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
fair,
I agree. I agree.
you know.
And we do have some new listeners. So this weekend I was hanging out with some family and they were talking about some of the episodes they were listening to and stuff.
No
So
way, that's so
so
awesome.
thank you. Thank you for listening. If you made it this
You were
far,
hanging with family,
I was.
not up here.
Gina's family. That's family.
Oh yes, it's still family, still family.
Hmm.
But your reunion is always somewhere around this time, so I wasn't sure if like you came up and I didn't know.
No, that is 2 weeks. Two
Okay.
weeks. And I don't know if I will see you, honestly.
No, well, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, we might not have. Like, we could be
Yeah.
ships in the dark. Ooh, speaking of interesting things happening, this is the week I jump out of a plane.
Is it awesome? What
Yeah,
day is
that should be
that?
fun. I think Friday. I think
That is
Friday.
super cool.
So, I'm sure I'll post a message about it. It's in
Hmm.
Chicago, so I'll be diving over Chicago. And it's so weird. And maybe it's because of who I am. I don't know. But I literally have no feelings about it.
So you're not excited or not
Right.
excited,
Like
or
people are like,
just there's
are
just
you
no
really
feeling.
excited? And I'm like, no, I'm like going and jumping out of a plane. And they're like, oh, but are you scared? And I'm like, no, it's just another thing to do. Like
Yeah.
I'm like it's not like I'm not like dreading it. I think it's gonna be a good
Hmm.
experience for me.
Yep.
But it's weird because there's a lot of things that I'd be excited for. And when I was in high school and college, I really wanted to jump out of a plane and I was excited. But that's like I'm past that point in my life.
Hmm.
And so now I'm like, yay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Hmm.
But I'm not like, woo, yeah, I'm gonna jump on a plane. And I'm also um what's the word, trepidatious, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it or anxious.
Hmm.
And somebody was like, yeah, but maybe like the day of you will be. And I'm like, maybe. Like I
Maybe.
don't know. I don't think I'll probably get excited that day because I'm excited every day. Right.
Hmm.
Like today I had 3 meetings and I was excited to go to all 3 meetings. Right. And some of you are like, really? You're excited? And I tend to live my life kind of excited.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and sometimes I don't, right? Like there's times like February, March, I start getting burned out, right? Because you can
Mhm.
only keep this level for so
Yeah.
long, and I'll be like, stupid ass meetings. I don't want to go to dumb
Hmm.
meetings, blah blah. And
Hmm.
I know that that's what's happening, right? Kind of
Yeah.
like when I get hangry, I know it's
Yes.
because I need food.
Hmm.
And so I'm sure on that day I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be like, I'm going to Chicago,
Hmm.
right? And that's gonna be awesome. But I
Who
I
are you
don't.
going with?
It's a group of about 3 or 4 teachers. Amy's going to go with
Okay.
me,
I
and
was
I
thinking
think,
it was teacher friends, but I couldn't remember.
I'm
Like
texting
who
right
you were
now
teaching for.
during the podcast because somebody was like, "Hey, did you want a carpool?" And I was like, "I got to check with A because I didn't know if we were going to stay an extra day in Chicago."
Yeah,
And she was like, "Yeah, I don't know if we were."
that's cool. Yeah, that'll be super awesome. Speaking of meetings, tomorrow meeting with a builder, so
Woo!
we're are excited about that. It'll be interesting to we're definitely gathering more information. We're going to find out a lot more. But just random, I was on Realtor and just like looking, I have like things that I'm looking for, like okay, and one came up in like a weird area of Mooresville. So I was like, Saturday, Gina and I were going to the warehouse bank stop, and I was like, hey, do you care if we swing by here? I just want to take a look at it. And we
Yeah,
went by, and it was a new community that they're building. So it was kind of a little bit misleading in the realtor like ad, but
yeah.
it was a really cool neighborhood right on Lake Norman, blah blah blah, all these things, and they have basements there. So I'm like, oh sweet. So we're
Ooh.
talking to them, and well, we went and looked at a house first, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I'm like, there's no way this can be the price range that they were saying, and it wasn't. It was double the price range they were saying. It was crazy. The house was crazy. So we end up talking to the guy a little bit, and it's something that we're considering. Like that area and that neighborhood, it's nice because just be a few miles from the warehouse.
So ditch the place where you're at.
We're
the
we're
property.
selling this place no matter what, and selling the property, and then just getting that.
I thought you were saying you were going to go look at the builder for your property.
We are. That's tomorrow.
Oh, that's tomorrow. Okay. So you haven't committed to selling the property yet
The property is listed.
for move fast, or like if it happens, it happens.
If it happens, then I'll be like, okay, I don't mind.
And then
Buying a
you'll
place
go to
somewhere.
this place in Mooresville.
Possibly. We liked it a lot. It was interesting, but it was just exciting to go there and to walk through some houses. You know how that
Yeah.
is.
Oh, yeah. So, but instead, also you're going to be meeting a builder tomorrow
For the land.
for the land. And if you decide to go with that, then you'll unlist it.
Yep.
Got it. I think I put all those pieces together. I think I did. I think I did.
I thought I was a little more clear. I guess I wasn't.
Listen, you're I'm sure super unclear to everybody listening, so it's okay.
I thought, okay, so what happened? I thought of the guys. I made a funny on something. Oh, so yeah, we were talking about one of the polo groups I'm in.
Yeah.
We talk about science stuff and what's going on. So EB was talking about some science stuff and talking about, what was he talking about? Something there was something happened with like a fusion reaction that they were able to actually get out more energy than was put in.
Mhm.
So he was talking about that. And I was like, and once he was all done, you know how he likes to do.
Yes.
So I got on Polo and I was like, yeah, that'll be great because like each fusion reaction we get to open up more multiple dimensions that, you know, and maybe things will change where Nancy Reagan will actually be a faithful wife. And I clicked it and I was like, is making a Mandela effect about Nancy Reagan to most of the people are under 30 for sure. And then there's EB and I. So I was like,
so they might believe it.
yeah, so they might not have any idea what I'm even talking about. And I thought of Nate, of course, because he's always like, I have no idea what you're talking about, like most of the time.
So last weekend I was at our friend Jamie's, and you probably said something or whatever, and like Jessica had said something. I'm like, oh well, what Jer meant was blah 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 blah, right? And she's just like laughing because that's happened to her multiple times. And she's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, this is what he's saying. And she's like, how do you translate so well for him? And Jamie and I look at each other and I'm like, listen, I go, you think this is like some weird thing? Because I go, you don't text Jer all the time. This is the text Jamie and I got. I go, this is Jer talking. I go, in text form. Because Jer, Kilted left his like recorder on, voice to text as he was having conversation. So it all got texted to us, all of his conversation. And you might think, oh my gosh, like, was any of it private? You wouldn't know because you can't understand anything that he said, right?
It was multiple conversations because Gina was on the phone and then it was a speakerphone. Yeah, and I don't know how long that was on. I was trying to delete it and I was just like, this is taking forever. So I just sent it. I was like, ignore this.
She's like, I don't even understand what's going on. And I look at Jamie and I'm like, well, here's what's going on in the first one. She goes, you really can speak Jer. And I go, yes, I really can. It's a skill. It's a skill. But yeah.
Added advantage of being a friend for so long.
Right. It happens, right? Like somebody said that the other day, like Amy and I like texted each other at the same time, the same thing. I think I was with Jessica and I was like, oh, Amy and I just texted each other like the same thing, different ways. I go, how crazy is that? And she's like, it's almost like you guys have been married for, more than 20 years. I was like, okay, that's fair. Like, maybe living together for the last, I don't know how many years, makes it so you kind of think a little bit the same.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Maybe.
It is true.
It does. It makes a difference, probably. The last thing I wanted to talk about before I forget, I had this thought like a day or two ago, and I was just like saying it to my wife, just kind of randomly, like we were going for a walk. And I was like, oh, I had this thought the other day. And I go, not that it's like something I was thinking about, like it just like popped in like at church or something. And she's like, oh yeah, that's interesting. But then on my run today, I think it was on my run or maybe in between meetings, it popped into my head to get again. And I was like, oh, I should talk to Kilted about this. So the first thought that popped into my head, and I don't know why, right? Like, I don't know what caused it. I think they said something at church or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think this. But I was thinking about if I retired, like what my pension would be. So I know people, the gray hair kind of gives it away a little bit, but multiple people today asked, yes, I could retire. I could have retired before. I don't do my gigs because I need money. I do my gigs because I like my gigs, but it's come up. And I was thinking about my pension. I thought, if I did 8 $5,000 shows, I would be at pretty much what my salary is with my pension. Probably a little bit more. It'd be hit or miss, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like talking to Amy, I'm like, I go, just as a weird like thought experiment, I was thinking about this again, like during church. I do a lot of deep thinking at church. I'm like, do you realize that in 8 long weekends, I go, if I were doing shows, I go, I could have the whole rest of the year off in those 8 weekends, and we would still have the same salary as I have right now. And I'm like, and if you were in the mood, you could do 9, 10, 11 shows or whatever. And she was like, oh, that is kind of interesting. I'm like, it could be this cool thing. I go, where I'm home all week, more or less, with the kiddo, doing all the house husband type stuff. I go, but then on the weekends, we would like tag team and you'd have the weekends with the kiddo. And so it was just funny that we're thinking about it. And I was like, not that I'm interested, but we've talked multiple times that, after you went to America's Mart, like, maybe you missed the shows a little bit, and like, maybe that's something. And so then today I was like, maybe Kilted and I need to do a business. I go, I don't know about sheets. Here's my problem with sheets and
They're
with
heavy
candy.
and they take up too much room.
They're too big, right? I'm like, I don't want to drive around in a huge cargo van. I'm like, they're just big. I'm like, that's a pain in the butt. Not that they're bad, they're a pain in the butt. And like, then one of the girls was like, yeah, that's why candy is awesome. That's why you should have done the candy. And like Amy and I left and we're like, the problem with candy is it takes 10 multi-sales of candy to equal 1 multi-sale of sheets. And they're like, right, but that's why sheets are boring, because you're standing there the whole time with candy you're popping. And I'm like, right, we would need a product that is in between. I go, maybe jewelry, right? Maybe something where you get to have, where you can put it all in a car.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of people do jewelry like that because you can have your lock boxes. They carry their stuff in and out every day.
Oh yeah.
The problem with jewelry is that they grow legs really easy from my experience.
Easy. Well, Amy said actually in today's market, the nail art would be a big thing in today's market. And I go, yeah, I'm not doing nails again.
It was fun though, and we did it.
Yeah, you guys did it and it was good. But I go, you got to talk and deal with so many people when you do nails. But anyway, it was something like that we were chit-chatting about. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of, I go, I don't think I would leave my gig. Like I said, I do my gigs.
Yeah.
My gigs. But it's an interesting like thought. And then I'm like, maybe that would be fun. But I'm always thinking that, right? Like I'm always like, yeah, maybe this is fun.
Maybe that would be a good time.
Maybe that'd be fun, right? Like
it's something. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, Kilt could be like, all right, I'm doing a show in Miami. What are you doing? I'm doing the show in Chicago. And I'm like, that'd be kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
So
it's something that life could go back. I mean, I can remember the old timers and they're running around in their RVs and they can put all their stuff in their RV. They're driving around. They're loving life.
Yes.
That's their home and they just take care of everything. And all of that is tax deductible, which is amazing.
Well, and that's what I said. I go, now I understand. Like, I just wasn't in this point in my life. I go, now I understand why our distributor Peter did what he did. So we had a distributor that Kilted knows that was named Peter, and he was retired and he did this. And I'm like, why is he doing this when he's retired? But now I get it, because I'm like, oh, like, he was out just selling the candy, doing a few farmers markets here and there, a couple shows here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really fun supplement to your income when you're just,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to hang out at festivals or
You're having
whatever.
a good time.
You're having a good time. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, that's cool. I'm like, that's a
Mm-hmm.
cool thing. So
Yeah, it's super awesome.
yeah, that's my thought.
See, there you go. That was a good one. So,
Mhm.
see, a little update for last week, anyone paying attention about the massage table.
Yes.
Now, I told Gina that you're picking on me. She didn't listen to last week's episode yet, and she was laughing. And she assured me that as soon as the table is set up, I will get sick of having so many massages. So we'll see.
And you didn't run and set it up right then.
I was sitting on 77 in an accident, like parked literally. Everyone, all five people in the car in front of us, two guys first got out, they jumped over the fence, they went down in the woods and they peed and they came back up. Then three girls hopped out of the car, jumped over the fence, ran down. I mean, we are just parked there. They were
Have
drinking.
you ever traveled in Europe?
Mm-mm. I mean, not I was just on the train when I was in Europe. And actually that was just Italy.
Okay. I couldn't
In
remember where you had traveled.
England was mostly train as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
So, listeners, if you haven't traveled a lot in Europe, I got to give you my experience from last summer on the Autobahn because this brings up your accident, and I thought it was just amazing. So we're on the Autobahn, we're in big, huge tour buses, right? Driving through Germany or whatever, and everybody, every car pulls off like they're parking. So they're like diagonal to the road and they all pull onto the shoulder, all diagonal. So it's like parked all the way as far as you can see, all the way behind you. And we're like, what's going on? And the guy's like, there's an accident up ahead. And we're like, right? And he's like, this is what you do when there's an accident. Everybody pulls off. And we're like, but like nobody like tells you there's an accident. He's like, this is the way it goes. He goes, it just makes sense. He goes, and you guys can get off the bus if you want. I'm like, what? And you look out and everybody's getting out of their cars. People are playing catch. One person was doing rock climbing. So we unload our tour buses. We're all in the sunshine having a grand old time. And you look and there's like a siren and emergency vehicles go zipping by right down the middle. Zoom, 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 zoom. And then he's like, all right, you got about 5 minutes. We're like, what? And like 5 minutes goes by, he goes, okay, everybody get back on. And everybody goes, and instantly going, 70 miles an hour again.
Wow.
I'm like, and I was with an EMT fire department guy. And I'm like, this is amazing. He's like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He goes, when I'm trying to bring a fire truck on an expressway, he goes, it is so damn hard. And he goes, but did you see that fire truck? He goes, it was going 80 and it never even like thought about slowing down. I'm like, I go, the accident got cleared in like, we might have been there 10 minutes. And the accident was done and cleared because all the tow trucks, all the emergency people got there like instantly because every car got off the road.
Yeah, they just moved.
They just all moved.
That's awesome.
And the kids are like, I don't think this could ever happen in America. I'm like, no, because Americans are a-holes. I go, they'd be like, I'm not pulling over. I'm going to go ahead. And then I'll pull over. And the next guy would be like, no, you're not going ahead of me. I go, and then we sit in a gridlock and the ambulances are driving on the shoulder, trying to not run off the road because everybody's idiots.
Yes.
But your thing made me think about that. Like, hey,
that would be amazing. No, I didn't experience that at all.
it was the craziest thing. Literally, they all zippered off and then zippered right back on as soon as it was going. I was like, I don't believe this.
Since we're talking about driving, I have a question for you.
Yes.
When electricity goes out and the lights lose electricity, how do you treat that? I treat it as a four-way stop. I thought that's what we had learned.
I was so confused. I'm like,
okay.
Like if my lights go out, like what do I do?
No, the traffic lights.
When traffic lights go out, they become stop signs.
So there was a bad storm last night. I talked about this. 2 of the miners were out, but the lights at the exit of the warehouse, people have no idea. Like I'm stopping, there were cars clearly there, like not moving anywhere. So I'm like, all right, I just drive through. Like,
yes.
People had no clue, and I'm like, I thought it was a thing. I thought it was like something we were taught that it's a stop sign, maybe not.
Nope, you are correct. And you see it, you got to be really careful because people don't know, right? And I was in Kalamazoo and one was out, and like I pulled up and like cars are like zipping, and I was like
Yeah.
you could get crushed here if you're not, because people don't notice, right? They don't pay, they see it go blink and they think it's changing to green. And so
Yeah.
they just keep going.
Yeah.